Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Karen. I'm already giggling with my guest. I'm excited, so excited about this one. Comedy dates coming up real fast. I believe that this is coming. Yes, we will. Everybody knows I'm taping early, so this is going to come out November 8th. If it is November 8th, you can come see me tonight in Ogden, Utah. November 22 at the Chinook Winds Casino in Oregon. February 24th, 2020, headlining Brad Garrett's Comedy Club and hosting, I can't remember the name, but listen, Upstate Washington, I'm coming your way after Brad Garrett's. So now today, everybody, oh yeah, and if you can leave me a review somewhere, 5 stars or 2 stars or wherever you listen, it helps other people find the podcast. Let's get to it. Today's guest I met on, it was a video podcast with the nicest German pop star. I don't know what it was, but we had the best time. And she is from Ojia Paranormal Investigators. Joanne Azoo, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Karen. Thanks for having me on.
Now you have such a, I know, like usually I have some paranormal teams on or paranormal people, but you and your son, Brandon, and your, other investigator partner, Jill Webb, you guys do something really different that I just found fascinating when we talked. So everybody hang on for that. But tell me, Joanne, you have all kinds of, empath, all kinds of things going on. Tell me about your paranormal history.
Well, oh boy, how long is this? Ever since I was a little girl, no, for real. But ever since I was little, it kind of ran in my family. Like my dad would know things that would happen. His sister, my aunt, actually had the power of telekinesis.
Really?
Yes. So she could move stuff. It was weird. It was
okay,
like
already,
I wanted to do that. Yeah.
Already I have 10 questions, because I took a class and they talked about that, and they said, I took a parapsychology class, and they talked about, they had a thing called, they called it weird psychic tricks, where people could only do certain things. Now, could she move anything or just light things, or was there a rhyme or reason?
Yes, she could move things, and it didn't matter if it was light or heavy. And usually it would get sparked by her being in a bad mood.
Oh, like me. Oh, I should be able to move things.
But no, I mean, from little things like a cup on the table, to, to a wedding cake going crashing on the floor where no one was standing around it. Yeah, because she wasn't invited to the wedding. Oh, but her husband was. Anyway, it was funny stories around that. But she was like really a funny lady. But yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what she could do, and that was all she could do. She could read, the coffee cups. So this was funny, where she would look into the cup and. Okay, and I'm in the kitchen with my mom, and she's looking, and she's like, oh, I see a young boy running through the alley. Looks like someone's chasing him, and we're thinking, oh, my God, okay, she's wacko, right? Mm-hmm. And we know she's like a funny lady. And as she said that, the back door swings open. Her son comes running in, and apparently a man was chasing him through the alley.
Wow.
He ran all the way home. And then we all looked at each other and like, okay. And she's psychic too. Yeah.
Wow. I do think there's something about, I have gotten so angry, I believe at my printer, that I had everything in my house just shut off. And I know other people that have done that. Unfortunately, anger, I guess, is the way we sometimes, I've never moved anything, but I did have everything go. And I know Tommy, my friend Tommy, that everybody that listens to this would know, the demonologist, he's just with energy, I don't know that his was anger, but he's crashed a couple of computers, but that's fascinating. Right. Oh my God.
Yeah. So that, so that's the kind of things, that we saw. And then I used to have dreams, when I was, younger, and well, younger, well, the age I am, younger could be anywhere from 30 on up, so that I would have dreams that would actually happen the next day. And we always, even as little kids, we'd tell our dreams, and so that was just a common thing to do. And so all of a sudden, I know as an adult, I was telling my mom, I had this one dream. It was really weird. I go through the whole thing about some lady, I don't know if you want to hear all that, but this murky water, and I'm swimming under this murky water. I see some lady behind this glass, and she's like, hey, no one knows I'm here, but there's air up there. So I swim up, and I'm telling my mom this whole thing. Uh-huh. So the next night, she sees on the news where some lady was in a Volkswagen Beetle going to the airport to pick up her husband, apparently flipped over into a ditch filled with water. Ugh. She was there for 2 days, and no one knew she was there. And all she had was a little thing of air at the top. And when they're pulling her out of the car, I guess they showed it on the news, was the exact description that I gave.
Wow.
So things like that, but nothing that will help me or somebody else.
As everyone asks, not the lottery numbers. No, we do not have those.
Yeah. And Spirit won't give me those either. They've teased me a few times. I'm like, oh my God. Oh,
no,
really?
And I always think it's funny because people say, hey, can you give me the lottery numbers? And I'm like, you think that I'd be reading for you for a couple $100 if I had the lottery numbers, Oh, yes, I'll give them to you. Gee, I hope you'll come back for more business. God. So you had the gift, and it kind of went back in and now your son has the gift, and this is Brandon.
Yes. My son, Brandon, ever since he was little, he was the type of kid that, as an only child, I mean, I never talked to him like baby talk, mm-hmm. And so he never made up things. So whatever he said, it's like, okay. Well, when he was about 4 years old is when I started to realize that he had a gift, and it wasn't just coincidental. So my mom, we lived upstairs from my mom, and, in this cool apartment in Chicago, and she was actually a house, but anyway, long story, like different two levels. And so she's watching Brandon, and she's starting to get up on this little step stool, and she's thinking to herself, if I fall, no one's going to know, if mm-hmm. I fall. And so Brandon comes in at 4 years old with a pillow. He puts it down by the step stool. He goes, just in case you do. So she's like, okay. And then we would have similar dreams. Like I dream something random, and he's like, Mommy, what's with the purple tile? And I'm like, oh my God, that was my dream. Like what? Yeah. Then it graduated to where, my father had heart condition, and he was in and out of the hospital towards the last days of his life. But we, kept thinking he was going to be good, right. And so that was not an unusual thing. He had health issues throughout his life, but always made it through. So I was in my dad's room getting his stuff ready. The hospital was only like 10 minutes away. And so I'm getting stuff ready, and Brandon was 6 years old and turns to me and says, Mommy, an angel just told me that, Papa died, but everything's going to be okay. And I'm like, Brandon, no, I'm going to get him. And then I look at my mom. I'm like, hey, did anybody call? She's like, no. I look at the clock, 11 minutes after 10 in the morning. And I'm like, no, honey, I'm going to go. And then I'm thinking, right. He knows something. And so literally I flew to the hospital. I'm running down the hallway, like slow motion, but running. And the door, my dad's door is shut, and there's a note to see the doctor, but I fling the door open. Long story short, he was, he passed away at 11 minutes after 10.
Wow.
Yeah. So then he would see angels, and this was afterwards. So it just progressed like that. And it was so cool and innocent. And I never said, I don't know about angels,
Right.
But I'm just like, well, what do they look like? And they would tell me, you can't see their feet, but they don't have wings. So he really wanted to know, why didn't they come up and talk to him, and why didn't they have wings? That was the part that was very curious to him.
Well, now I want to know, yeah. Did anyone ever figure out that answer?
well, what I do, yeah. They're good at mime. No, they talk. They do talk. But I guess, I personally think they didn't want to scare him. So I just told him, I'm sure, not many people get to see angels, but I'm sure when they have something to say, they will let you know. So that's really how I went with it. Because, what do I know? Now I do know.
You know what, too? I wonder if they would just communicate with him telepathically.
Well, yes, they do. And we've also captured, as you know, I'm an electronic voice phenomenon specialist. So we've actually have angels, angelic messages, and they're quite amazing. It's almost like, I think they like harmonic. So it's very interesting. But yes, and he has as an adult, he's going to be 27 next month, and he has seen angels since.
I was just going to say he still sees them, huh?
Oh yes, and they're apparently very tall, and with elongated features, and just very beautiful and graceful and playful too.
Now he doesn't see negative things, does he?
Well, now that is the curious part, because when he was younger, this is before I, became an investigator, of course, but he would see like shadow people, and he'd see some strange looking entities. And I would just tell him, well, listen, if they're trying to tell you something, listen. If they're scaring you, we'll just ask them not to do that. But not everything that looks maybe different or dark,
right,
is bad. So he actually ended up nicknaming a shadow man Uncle Greg. And that's when, Uncle Greg. So, I'm like, okay, whatever, right? Well, one night I saw Uncle Greg. And I'm like, he's real. And he was just like peeking around a door jamb. And then my mom saw him one night too. So I'm like, okay. And so when we did move from Ojia, I'm now down in LA, but the day we moved, we were like, hey, listen, if you want to come with us, come on with us,
And so you guys never felt it was negative. You always kind of just felt like it was curious.
Curious, or maybe a protector or a watcher. He's come through and he has given us messages.
Oh.
We don't really know who it is. With some of the people that do come through, their voices are recognizable, but we're not sure. He's not sure. I'm not sure. But it's very funny because on some investigations, when I'm doing it for clients, he'll come through and say, "How's Brandon?"
Oh, how funny!
It's Greg.
And
we don't even know if that's his real name. So,
and this is a perfect time. I know my listeners probably know this, but EVP is electronic voice phenomenon, and because I'm sure they watch the shows or I've talked about it here or whatever. My sister's always like, "Be sure and say what it is," because everybody doesn't know.
Right.
And that is when you watch the ghost shows and they tape you hear them tape a voice. And sometimes it's very clear, sometimes it's not. But you guys kind of do a special thing where you help people in a different way. And you do a phone consultation, correct?
Right. Well, and the phone thing turned out to be like an experiment. So, we were doing things locally, from Santa Barbara to LA, and, we'd go on site investigations, whether it's, an industrial building, a theater, restaurant, like one restaurant owner in Santa Barbara, he was going to sell the restaurant until we came in and we're like, no. And then it turned out it was the previous owner. And he told us the truth. The spirit told us the truth. And he did not die of a heart attack. Someone shot him, but nobody wanted to say that because then no one would want to rent the restaurant. But all of the messages were quite positive. So everyone felt at ease. And so the over the phone was when, so Jill, our co-founder, and my son, they were busy and they couldn't make it. And I'm like, what do you mean? We have to go on this. And no, they couldn't. Okay. All right. I'm like, you know what? So I called the client. I said, hey, maybe we could do it over the phone. And within a 10-minute recording over the phone, and I use, by the way, it's an RT EVP recorder. So it's just a little digital recorder. There's nothing really fancy about it at all. It's not like a spirit voice box or anything like that. And, so that's what I use. And so just click that on and, ask permission, of course, to record. And within 10 minutes, 20 messages.
Really?
Specific messages specific to the client. And there's no fee, but what I ask people to do is just give me if it's relevant, let me know. So at least with the research, I'll be able to know, hey, we're like 95% accurate.
Right.
And it's funny. Sometimes they'll be like, I don't know who Wally is, and then maybe a day or two later, oh my God, that was my neighbor, back when I was a little kid. So it's very cool. And it's audible. I don't tamper with the audio clip. I might have to amplify some of the louder whispers, but we'll get very clear where, it's it's so clear. Well, we know they're right here.
Right. And I know one investigator that does a little bit of the same thing, but you guys really, in fact, I have to tell you a funny story, but you guys really get, it sort of is your thing. Like and I saw that on your website too. So you let the client know. It's funny because you said you asked permission to tape. Do you also ask permission from the spirits?
I certainly do. The first thing, the way I start out is, I thank the client for reaching out to us. And then I thank Spirit for allowing us to receive those messages because, they're the ones that I feel like they trust the fact that we are going to get those messages from them and they're going to and their family members or friends are going to hear them directly. And they're going to know from the information that it's not anything, that it's real, that it's really coming from them. And it's almost like there's a formula for spirit. Sorry, Spirit. I don't know if that's the right word, but they will give, for instance, in a 10-minute, sometimes I go 15, but 10-minute, they'll give a memory. So it could be from your childhood. So they're going to jog your memory a little bit. Okay. So then you're going to know, then they'll give you another message from aside from everything else they're telling us, but another message maybe of what you did yesterday. So we were working on a murder case and it was out of state. And so the spirit came through, said something from early in their marriage and then said golf course. And she's like, oh my God, my brother-in-law and I were just, I live right across from the golf course and we're standing out on the golf course talking about them. So, and that was the day before. So, but they won't give future, but they do give names. And basically it's all about the truth. And that's, right. It's like the messengers of truth. And so that's what they're giving. And let's see, and a lot of times too, regardless if it's murder or suicide, we do get suicide victims that will come through and they will apologize to their family members.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah. And also, it's funny about the future stuff. I wonder if they don't know the future or not the future. I was going to say when you said it's about the truth. And what's really interesting, I wonder if a non-negative being, if something that is going, sort of, I'll just say that higher vibration, I bet they can't lie.
No,
or it wouldn't occur to them on the other side or something.
Well, I think, because it's all pure and it's all about unconditional love. So I think that's, and look, we do make our own choices. So, if they could see something, well, it might be altered by something that we do.
Right.
Obviously, but I believe that every path we go on, we're still going to get to the point where we need it to regardless.
Yeah.
The lessons should be learned, but I think that's why, that they can't really say. Now, I do believe, I know psychics, so they could tell. We had a really good friend that was a medium and a psychic. That guy was crazy. He's gone now, but wow, what he would say. So he could see, into that. And we've seen, but Yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking.
No, I know exactly where you're going. And I read tarot cards. I mean, that's my day job. And it's
nice.
it is.
I want mine read.
Oh, we'll work that out. We'll make that happen.
Okay, cool.
And I know, like, it is, I always say, it's right now. In fact, it's so funny because sometimes I do my podcast on my own, and I'm doing one on synchronicity, and it's unbelievable to me where it led about our timelines, and it's coming up, folks. It'll be fascinating. But
nice. I'll catch it. Definitely.
It is sort of, we say it's the timeline that's ahead of you right now. So you can change it, but I think there are certain points that we do hit, and every once in a while when something is important to someone, I can see, so yes, our future is changeable, but it is sort of from this point. I think there's bullet points that we hit.
Exactly. And
yes,
that's well put. That was beautifully put.
Yeah. Not that there's this is going to sound terrible, but I really want to talk about suicide when we come back. So we'll do it in a nice way, folks. Don't even worry. So we'll be right back. Who do tarot readers go for tarot readings? They go to Melissa Sonova at melissasonova.com. She gave me the best reading a couple of months ago that is still resonating and helping me out now. She is authentic and to the point. You loved her on the podcast. She is the no BS tarot reader. She also has a tarot class online right now. Check it out. Just watching the promo, you will see how much fun you are going to have while you learn. Also, check out her book, which is always right beside me when I'm doing my readings or my tarot card for me in the morning. It is called Kitchen Table Tarot, and you will love it. Melissa Sonova, that's MELISSACYNOVA. Check her out. Okay, so Joe, so we got the picture. You guys do it on the phone. You analyze the tapes, and I said this on the other podcast, and I do think this is something about you and your son, because I've seen you guys together, and it seems like, we'll ask later about negative stuff, but it seems like you guys have, and it could be your son with that connection to the angels and stuff, but a lot of positivity, and it's not that. In fact, I had a podcast I taped last week with a guy that, he sort of saves haunted objects, and he has a museum of, Ouija boards and a lot of stuff. If you think your Ouija board is haunted, and there was absolutely clear, I don't know if it was a disembodied voice or an EVP, because as he was talking, I heard something and I said, did we just get an EVP? And he said, I didn't hear anything. And it's clear as anything on the tape. That'll be played soon, folks. It was with Calvin.
That's cool. That happens a lot. Like you actually think it's the client that's saying something, and it isn't. I know. Yeah. That's okay. All the time. Yeah.
Well, that's first
cool.
time. I know with podcasts now, it's almost like the spirits are getting used to it, and it's happening a lot. And on some non-paranormal podcasts, I know some people that got a little freaked, but, I really think you guys kind of have something in tune or a higher vibration or something working with you, because the stuff I've seen with you guys is so on the mark and very different than just somebody that popped in and said, Karen, you know what I mean? Like, so you guys are right in alignment there with something really, really good. But when someone, that has committed suicide, it is, like, I've dealt with a couple of cases where I felt like people were stuck. We did a investigation where people were stuck, but what do they say, or what do they do? How do they feel when they've committed suicide?
Well, and I've worked on several cases, so but universally, okay. They in the investigations, universally in my world. I got it at that. So let's see. And one in particular. Well, I could. They allowed me to post this on our website and YouTube. So I know I could talk about two different suicide cases. So one was it was a divorced husband who was a pastor, and apparently he had tried killing himself several times because of the divorce. Yes. Oh. And his teenagers tried preventing him from doing that on several occasions. Well, obviously they weren't able to prevent it. Right. Yeah. So the son, a teenager at the time, was obviously felt, such guilt that he couldn't, I'm actually getting teared up, that he couldn't stop his dad from doing that, as hard as he tried, and so he was having, a lot of issues, obviously, as one would, especially when you're a teenager, that, you've seen, they did not witness their father doing that, but the dad did it at their house. So it's like, great.
Right. And how could they not feel responsible when they, and I feel, cause and then you think I should have been there. And it's like, you can't sit by his side for ever.
Like, why didn't I see that? Why didn't I stay longer? Why didn't I do this? So and he was having nightmares too. So then, during, and it was, by the way, we also do things during the day because sometimes people are afraid of the nighttime. It's like, hey, whatever, we'll do it during the day. But to tell you the truth, between you and me and everybody else, it's a little scary when you get stuff during the day.
You know what? It can be like, anytime. Really? Yeah, it can be anytime. So you don't need the lights out.
Yeah. But so anyway, so we're doing the investigation, and the dad came through and he mentioned his son by name. And he said, Michael, I am sorry for the way things ended. And then went on to give some powerful points that the son was able to relate to. And literally, I mean, I don't want to say, and he was like 100% perfect jumping around or anything, but the burden that was taken off of his shoulders, hearing his father saying that, apologizing. And that, but the funny thing is when his ex-wife said something, he did not sound too, it was pretty funny because they come through with their personalities. So he wasn't like, oh, sorry about that,
Wow. Yeah.
But the other thing is, and this was in that investigation, he did say that it went too quickly. And we had that in 2 other cases. So by the time that, and I believe this, and I was a witness in my mom's death. She died naturally, but Brandon and I were with her. We took care of her at our house. Anyway, don't mean to go on a tangent, but okay. I know from what I witnessed that regardless of how someone passes, their soul leaves their body before that last breath.
That makes me so happy. You would know the story. I don't know if you know this story, and I don't know if it's a wives' tale or it's true, about there was a psychic or I don't remember. I think it was a medium. Elevator doors open. Nobody has an aura, so she doesn't get on. Elevator drops, or there's a fire or something, and nobody gets out of the elevator. And she thought that was they had all left their bodies already.
Oh, I just got total chills because angelic message. This goes right around to what you're saying. They say, we did this huge thing for a lot of comedians. It was like this big bachelor party.
Oh, yeah.
Wait. It was a big bachelor party. I'm like, okay, dudes, do I have to jump out of a cake? Because, I'm not that young, but I'll do it. But it was really funny because during that investigation is when the angelic message says, we see your auras.
Oh.
So that's what they see.
So they don't see, they see us as energy, not necessarily clear as a bell.
That's how I'm going to interpret. That's how I interpret that. So I think even spirit it may be the same way, because a lot of people think, they're watching me when I'm on the toilet. We had a couple of investigations. The new mom, she's like, I'm thinking they're watching me like when I'm running I'm like, they don't look at us like that.
Right.
So I think that, I don't know, but let's get some clarification.
Right. Well, that.
But they did say auras. I mean, Brandon and I saw my mom, when she was, I thought she had already taken her last breath, and so I'm just looking, we're just telling her how much we love her and everything. And the nurses hadn't come. She was, like in hospice, but in her house. And all of a sudden I'm like my mom she looked like Elizabeth Taylor. Okay. But she had the brown eyes. And I'm like thinking, wait a minute. Why are her eyes? She doesn't have cataracts, because they were white, not rolled back, white. And then all of a sudden she takes, and then she takes a breath, and then her eyes turned back to chocolate brown and she was gone.
Wow.
And I looked at Brandon and I'm like, dude, did you just see? He goes, I saw the same. I said, we just saw her leave.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're gone and they're not. And, with EVP, they're not, I didn't have the recorder running. It was so quick. I really didn't know.
Plus, it's your mom.
Should have.
So
I should. Well, yeah. No. Listen, when you're a ghost hunter, that doesn't mean anything. No. But we know. Well, prior to that, when she got some clarity, she was bedridden for a little bit. And she got some clarity, so all of a sudden she knows who I am. and then she's saying, our co-founder Jill, her daughter Alicia, she was killed in a car accident. Actually, it was 13 years ago on Thursday. And so my mom says, Alicia's here and she's saying a prayer for me. And I got the recorder and you could hear chanting in Aramaic.
Wow.
And it's beautiful. So, I know that we are never truly alone. We do have our guardians and, and we're not alone. And especially, my mom had Alzheimer's. So I believe because their frequency changes, as their brain is deteriorating, they could see and hear on a different frequency. We have so many stories about that. It's, I would love to just do research just based on that.
Okay. Well, I'm writing that down because we're going to talk about that again. What's funny about them seeing our aura? Because there's two things. And the first is, I think that's why I've gotten some messages about money. And that must be why they say money is energy. So they're not seeing us getting cash. They're seeing an exchange of energy. So that might be, and also I'm still sort of in this, I'm getting very into this techno that everything is sort of it could be a computer simulation or it's sort of our, you know what I mean? Like we're kind of in a matrix here that they might see the matrix and not what we see.
Right. Interdimensional. Yeah. It's true. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I like the way you're putting it. It sounds better.
Yeah.
I got to write that down.
So they probably see our truth.
Yes, I think so. And, it's also, we also get messages for clients, for protection, like there could be a gas leak in their house. Sometimes it's as simple as that, or something's wrong with the car, but they truly want to help us. They are trying to guide us. And, when you hear that like inner voice, lately I've really tapped into that where I'm paying more attention. Like, if I'm leaving the house and I'm like, I don't really need my passport, grab the passport.
Right.
Because that's what I know it sounds silly.
Well, no,
sometimes those little things.
No, I think it's right. I think it's, and it's very interesting because I am starting to, because I think the reason I like tarot is because I feel like I'm focused in that one thing and I sort of have something between. Okay. So it feels very safe to me and I can kind of throw out the cards at any time and kind of feel good about that. But I have been what I call off the cards a lot lately, which is where it's just psychic stuff. And also I'm trying to find in my own life the line between messages and impulse.
Oh,
like it's a fine line. Like I can get impulsive and go, that has to happen. And is that my inner voice or is that like a panicked voice that's going, you got to do this? But I agree with you. If they say balance an avocado on your head, that's what you need to do. You know what I mean? That message is coming from somewhere.
I think so.
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
I've had so many instances where, and it's weird. Like I'll be driving. Oh, this was true. I'm driving down, the 101 and, traffic's going really, really pretty quickly. And I see this van cut in front of me. I don't tailgate, so it doesn't, so when I say cut in front of me, it's like four car lengths. And then all of a sudden I hear, take your foot off the gas pedal. I take my foot off the gas pedal. The van crashes into the car in front of them. I look to the right. It's like all slow motion. I don't see any cars. I just move over to the right. I avoided the whole thing.
Wow.
But now, then you get the people who go, oh, why do you think you're so special? I'm not so special. I'm just listening. If someone's going to yell, hey, don't do that, I'm not going to do it.
Exactly. You're tuned in. You're tuned in. And just for people that know, or people that want to know, why would I tell people what they already know? All the classes and everything. I'm very fascinated with Rhine education, and their parapsychology classes are all like that. It has to be tested and legit, and nothing gets in except that. And I'm taking the intuition class, but one of the things they said is when people, the most important thing that people got the most right with remote viewing or anything ESP was when they were completely relaxed. And that is not that you're meditating at the wheel, but you probably weren't like, oh, I got to get here. The traffic's terrible. And I'm like, you were probably in the zone of, this is my life. I try to do that even when I'm in a rush, like, hey, it's just a day. It's just a thing. And so you are hearing, but I also think people have tuned it off so much that they just need to take a minute and believe, because no one's in more than I am. I always joke, I believe everything. But,
I do too. I do too. You have to. And when you experience the things that we experience,
right?
You can't. How are you not going to go? I don't believe that.
I know, and I have
Sometimes I eye roll. Sorry, sometimes I do a little eye roll, and I catch myself. I'm like, wait a minute.
But you know what is funny about that is because I try not to bash anybody's story or what they're going through, but I do think sometimes you get that feeling inside of what is really authentic and what is not. So an eye roll can slip in every once in a while, but I think I am almost even more believable of other people than myself, and that's the part we have to get in touch with.
Well, and that's true. It's been, like, look, with Brandon, every single day, Karen, we have some experience, and we've been experiencing like almost like parallel, the same things, at different times. And then we'll look, I'm like, hey, blah, blah, blah. Or we'll be watching Jeopardy and someone blurts out an answer. We look at each other. Okay. Who said that?
Oh, that's great.
But, sorry, I don't even know where I was going.
Oh, don't even worry. I'm so enjoying this conversation. You're such a fabulous.
Oh my gosh.
This is your first appearance. That's what I'm going to call it.
Oh, thank you.
Brandon needs to write a book.
Yes. Yes. And he's a writer, so he needs to do that.
Because I was thinking, and most of, if somebody's coming to me for a tarot reading or something, they're very they're in tune anyways, or they're open to it. And he would write such a great a book for empaths or people or kids, because that next generation is going to raise the level for all of us. They're all psychic, they're all telepathic, but the ones that have parents that are shutting it down, or you're just too sensitive, they need a book from him.
Yeah, you know what? And that is, that's a good point. I know we've co-written a couple little things like for TV. Everyone does when you live in LA.
yeah.
But that's true. And and I think too, from the clients that call, so, we get a variety of calls, and some of them are because, they'll have something occur, but they get scared. So I think most of the time when people are shutting those things down or shutting their kids down, like, oh, you're not seeing that. It's, I think they're trying to just be protective. Now there are some people that, they're like, nope, that's evil, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is,
Right. It's the easy way to shut it down.
That's evil. Yeah. So I think it's a form of self-protection. So I think that and there are more people that say they don't believe in ghosts, which they really like to be called spirits, but they don't believe in that. But then all of a sudden they have these stories to tell,
right?
So they all had, not all, but I would say the majority have had those experiences. And it is being in tune and being open. Sometimes people don't have the time to do that, but they're robbing themselves of a whole nother dimension.
Right. And not only a whole other dimension. I did a pilot show with a friend of mine that was a newspaper guy, and he really was kind of, I guess he was a skeptic or a non-believer, but he goes, watch the third time, because he knew how to interview people. And he would say, hey, have you ever seen a ghost? And they'd go, nope. You never saw a ghost? No, never saw a ghost. Are you sure you've never seen a ghost? Well, there was this one time, and it was always like he would get like everybody, they just wanted to say no. But I also think, and I know it scares some people, but don't you feel like this knowing that there's so much more than what we have right on the table in front of us is so hopeful and encouraging?
Yes. And, and that is why I'm so passionate about what I do. And it's because, look, everyone has lost someone, and so everyone knows what what losses feel like. So sometimes those souls, like even in suicide, we'll go back to that, when people, they can't, Angelica has said about the suicide victims too, in this one case, her heart was darkened. So they can't see past, their pain. So, and then once they end their lives, it's like, oh no, it was so simple. Why couldn't I see that? So with what that, with the proof that we're receiving from heaven, and they have called it heaven, but I don't know if it's like way up there, but I'm pretty sure it isn't. It's like right between us.
Right.
And, and so so basically it's the hope and the knowledge that, we don't end here. We are going to see our loved ones and our friends, and it's all real, and it's all about unconditional love. Like the reason they come through, people, well, why? They have to come through and just give us a reminder of something, why? What's the point, Or, oh, they're going to tell us who the murderer is. Yeah, they're going to tell you because it's the truth and how they did it and where they hid the evidence. We got that too. It's pretty cool. But anyway, so basically it's about us, our healing, the people still here living. And so the real reason they come through is, about letting us learn self-forgiveness, because there's nothing about guilt or resentment or anger. A lot of people that died, they weren't the nicest people, Right. They get that. And they'll come through and they'll even apologize on that one. Sorry, I made her so angry,
Right. That's the devil card in tarot, what you do to yourself.
Yeah. So, but it's like all forgiven, anything that we did or thought we did or any injustices, we're forgiven of all that, but we're not forgiving ourselves. So,
right.
So they're letting us know, hey, move on. Life is really, really short. And one of our friend, the medium, his name was Tom Sexton, medium psychic, and he was a really good friend of ours. And he actually when he came through, he said, time moves too quickly.
Right.
And that was the big message to his wife.
And I'm going to take a break in a second, and I want to come back and talk about the frequency thing and something about regrets. But I am not a romantic movie person. In fact, I joke that the only romantic movies I like were Ghost and What Dreams May Come, and in both those movies, the men were dead. So I have a little.
Those are my two favorites.
I have a little trouble with commitment, if you couldn't tell. I think intimacy is safe if they're on the other side, but I don't want, but
I love it. Oh my God.
What Dreams May Come was like, it was all about this woman punishing herself. And
yes.
I'm getting the chills now. I got to watch it again. It's the only movie, it makes me weep. I weep at the end like a little baby. Okay, folks, we will be right back with Joanne Azoo from Ojia Paranormal. Hang on.
Psychic medium and buddy of mine, Terry Huberman, is with me today. Terry, you've given me so many great readings and healings, and now you've got everything together in one package. Tell me about that.
I sure do. So this package has energy healings, readings, and coaching.
Coaching, that's the best. And people, they buy the package. You give them coaching once a week?
Yeah, so we meet online once a week, and in between, there's support as well.
And who would this be for?
This is really for folks who are in indecision, needing to get into their intuition because they're blocked or stuck. They need to move forward. And so we explore what the root causes of the problems are.
And helps them get out of their own way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Terrific. And what can they expect from this?
Sure. So moving from anxiousness to confidence, accessing their freedom, joy, and security, and really being in alignment with themselves so they have that clear direction, so they know, aha, this is what I need to do next to reach my goals.
So now there's something that's free so people can talk to you and see if this is for them.
Yeah, absolutely. On my website, terryhuberman.com, there is a page where you can click, and it's the intuitive coaching package. And there is a button there that says schedule a free call. So you go ahead, schedule it. We'll get on a call and you can learn more about this program, and we'll see if this is a good fit for you or not.
See if there's chemistry.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's an odd date.
terryhuberman.com, TerrieHuberman. I highly recommend it, folks.
Okay, so it's such a fascinating, endless topic, but it's almost like right here in my life, it's like I'm so driven and I'm doing all these things, and I gotta get, like, I just recently have taken away from myself the phrase "I have to," because I feel like I'm like going to wake up one day and the regret would only be I didn't enjoy myself. I shouldn't have been nailed down to the desk. You know what I mean? Like I should be out there because, even I hope that when I pass, I don't want to point out who killed me or something, which I know people do, but I'm always thinking, shouldn't we let it go over there? Like, unless they're going to kill somebody else, then yeah. But I hope I'm good enough to let it go. Although I'm usually not, but hopefully I'll grow by then. But I think a lot of people talk about regrets. I mean, obviously if they committed suicide, there's that regret right there. But do other people apologize, or is regret a word you don't usually hear there?
No, you know what? No, there's no regret. They're not, oh, I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done. No, it's not like that at all.
It's just going to be me.
Yeah. Well, now when you're saying about, like, okay, when people come through and they're telling us who the murderer is, it isn't about, I'm going to clear this up. It isn't about revenge. It's about the truth. And so they are just, I don't want to say robotic. I don't want to say robotic. Okay. But it's like, okay, so this happened and this person, and this is where this is, and this is what happened. So that the family, they have, we give solid, I mean, the leads are solid. So what they're getting, they want, I would say that we would want is the truth. So you're getting the truth, but without animosity or anger. We've even had Spirit tell a client, it's cute, Karen, because sometimes they know obviously I'm going to listen first to the recording. They're like, Joe, tell her, tell her this. Oh, Joe, tell her that, it's really cute. I love that. And they'll also say sometimes that I'm funny. I'm like, oh, I love
yes,
you
you
guys,
are.
I love you guys. But so they said, tell her, because she was concerned, if she takes the stand, they already had the people, but she takes the stand, what would the, and what would the sentence be? She was like concerned about all these things. And her husband said, it's dangerous, but two, and he didn't number them, and two, like, don't worry about that. It will all happen the way it's supposed to.
Wow.
And so it was not on her shoulders, and so that's what all this is about as well. It just gives people that peace of mind of, sometimes, there are suicide victims that didn't commit suicide. And we get that information as well. So it's pretty interesting. And that's also something that somebody would want to know.
Plus, I sometimes people don't understand, but when I try to explain this, but I feel like the kind of say like our souls, like we are one. I always say it's like a beach and we're each a grain of sand. So we want the beach to be beautiful. So we're all, like everybody wants to find their purpose in life, which I find is a tough phrase because maybe our purpose is not that grand. Someone has to clean the bathroom. So, and no one wants to hear that that's their purpose, but maybe your purpose is just being the best grain of sand you can be, so the whole beach is beautiful. And I think maybe that, I bet truth is an energy that they're trying to clear. So
It is, yes, that's again beautifully put. That's why you do what you're doing.
No, it's just today. Usually I'm
and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm probably the grain of sand that's up somebody's butt.
Oh no, no, never.
But we are. Yeah, they're like, hey, what's that? We're all, but we are all connected, and they do tell us that. And that's the other thing. If people knew that, they're not really alone. And I know that we're, I want to say that we're not being judged, but if we could live our lives the best way and maybe even thinking, oh, someone is watching us, so how would you act, in a crowded.
Right.
This is like, for me, I think, if I make somebody smile, you hold the door open, those little things to me are, like, a miracle in life that people are showing that energy, that love, even though they don't know you. And there are a lot of jerks out there, but for that one moment, all of that's gone. There's no prejudice. There's no judgment. It's, you're holding the door open for some little old man. Who knows? He could have been, a mobster at one point,
I think that was my favorite, when I listened to someone with a near-death experience, she said it didn't matter how big or small the gesture was. If it was good, she saw a light go from her through that person, through the earth, or through the people around the earth. And if it was bad, she just saw a dark light go through. Wow. So it's like, good. But it's funny because I don't know if this was a good thing or bad thing, but I'm trying to get, I was talking to my guides and I'm kind of like, let's get to the dark stuff. Let's get to my shadow and get it in the past. And I don't know why, but I feel very ready where nothing I'm looking at is punishing, but it's like adjusting. And it's a very interesting, I came across, and I use this phrase very gently, but I was like, hey, you're kind of being a bully there. And I thought, wait, what did I just hear? And then I realized, and I went back to all these situations, and some of them, I'll say this in a good way. Like I had Kaiser really screw me, and I literally bullied them into getting rid of that bill. And I'll say, I don't believe it could have been nicely. You could have probably done it because you're nice, but I had it. So it's not just,
I'm also like a bodyguard. So.
Yeah. So it's not bully. That word I was using isn't just picking on someone smaller, but then I started to analyze it and I was like, okay, so how did you feel? I felt like I needed control. I needed to be right, which is, I was. Listen to how bad my ego is. It still has to go. I was. But then I looked at other situations and I was like, okay, so I know where this came from in my childhood, and where it came from was when you don't feel support. When you think you're alone, so you got to get that upper hand so that where you were just saying, we always have support. That is kind of one of my mantras with my tarot card of the day, if you follow me on Facebook. But that is a little plug there. But yes, it's
love it.
Like you just showing people that support is there.
Right. And that's what it is about, even in the little micro smile,
Yeah. The universe
and
has
acknowledgement, just, actually making eye contact, even if it's not a creepy length of time, unless they're really hot,
Yes, exactly.
and then, and I'm like, hey, sorry, I got, that silver hair. I think I could get away with anything.
Oh, I know. Your hair is gorgeous, by the way. You have the hair I want, because my hair is like half white, half gray, kind of brown. But you have that beautiful, still, I don't know, silver blonde, white. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, I don't know the colors either, but it's all.
It looks great.
Oh, I think you're so sweet. You're gorgeous. Come on.
See, now look what we turned this into, all this happiness.
I know. Yeah, let's get back to the bad stuff.
Let's get to the dark stuff. And two things. So have you guys encountered anything dark?
I would say that maybe okay, I'm like stuttering because I'm like, I don't want to get scared. No, I'm teasing.
Right. So, yeah. If you don't want to talk about that's cool.
No. It's no, of course I do. I love this. No. So we went to a house where the family actually moved out. Okay. They moved out of because it was haunted. And we went to the place they were staying prior to going to the house that they vacated. And only to find out that the grandson was psychic. And he was 7 years old. So he was saying things, okay, and as we're recording, and you could hear the spirit telling him things, he's giving information that I told the grandma, you better go check that out. And she did, and it was all accurate. There's no way that this kid would know. So then we're like, okay, so let's find out maybe, what was happening over at the house. So they didn't know that the kid was psychic, and we did the cards, whatever. I don't even know the name of them right now, but he was he was doing like 50%, 60%. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
So we go to the house, and as an empath, I could, most of the times spirit will kind of like give me an indication, how they died, either stomach or, I'll get an indication. And so I'm at the top of the stairs of this house, and it was, you could feel the energy. It was a little eerie, but I know, hey, they're not going to hurt me. And so I feel this, like a punch to my jaw, not hard, but I went, is that how you died? Someone punched you in the jaw and you fell and hit your head, and that's how you died? And then you hear the spirit say, you effing caught me, and, so at that point, so that's as negative as we've gotten, but it was kind of like we were right, obviously right on, and that is what happened.
So it was the spirit when he said, "You caught me," and you can swear if you want on this podcast. Did you catch him that he punched someone, or someone punched him?
No, someone punched him.
Oh, and he was
someone
furious.
Punched him. He was serious. Someone had punched him in the jaw. I think I guess when I personally don't believe like he's just like hanging around there for some, just to scare people. But I think it was important that we knew that, it was a surprise, it was not something that was expected.
Right. And do you think there's a difference? Like, even when you said it was eerie, I know sometimes the earthbound spirits, I feel like since they're kind of not supposed to be here, they're a lower vibration. That's why they kind of make you not feel well. Whereas you're usually dealing with someone who's crossed over.
Right. Well, and it is true. The energy, you could feel the energy shift and change. This, had it, as you know, it just had it's like a heavier feel. Now, but sometimes I don't want to confuse that feeling with maybe that they're feeling sad. There's a sadness that's crossing over that I'm picking up on.
Right.
And it's a heaviness that the burden that they're having. So I'm not sure, but and then when we were at the Glen Tavern Inn.
Oh, I love the Glen Tavern.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's amazing. Yeah. Amazing. And that you could feel, I knew that the one woman was pregnant, I was doubled over, and normally I'm doubled, but not as in like I'm really having pain, but like I could feel it,
right.
But not where it hurts me. And even as an energy healer, people, oh, don't you get tired doing it? I'm like, no, it doesn't drain me at all.
Right. It should be moving through you, right?
Yeah. And then the Bella Major Inn, but that's the only time we caught a couple things on film, but the one, it was pretty interesting, but you could feel the sadness. And then we actually captured our camera going blurry and her moan come through her, but so I think to me, it's more about the sadness of that person. And I don't know if it has anything to do with being stuck or not, but it's definitely a different energy than when we go, one investigation we did, this was, every investigation's amazing, but this one was where a little girl died. She was 11 and they thought she had the flu, but they found out she had leukemia, and within a couple hours she was gone. And so, but that energy was different, and we got so many messages for the family.
So that was current. That wasn't like in the 1800s. It was like a little while ago.
No, this was, this was like, sooner than that, not the 1800s, but the moaning lady, that was about the, early, I think the late 1800s. And the same with when we did a funeral home, and it was from the big flu epidemic in the early 1900s.
Wow.
So, but you still feel the energy, but they come through and they're giving messages, and they're telling what happened,
And that's probably something that our little brains may find out someday or may not, is maybe that moaning or that thing is sort of the energy in that moment. And when they can revisit that moment, but not be a part of it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Something like that. I'm pontificating on details that I think there's a lot our little brains aren't going to get.
No. And, and that is another thing that angelic realm has told us, is that we won't understand all of it.
Right. Not until later.
It's pretty simple. We're not,
we're not wired for it yet.
Try as you may.
Keep
but
making
you guys
those.
Are getting close. If they could just say that, you guys are getting a little closer. So
and I have to agree with your medium friend. Time goes by too fast, because I feel like I just started this with you and we are already at the hour.
Talk about paranormal.
Oh my God. Well, Joe, I hope you will come on again, because this was just fabulous. And we'll talk more about your cases and we'll put the EVPs on and stuff.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
And until then, and folks, you can go to their website, go to the website. She has contact where you can contact her if you want an investigation, or if you want to just ask a question or tell her how great she was on the podcast. It's ohiparanormalinvestigators.com, correct?
Correct.
Super easy, and we'll be in the show notes. So, Joe, it took me like a year. I asked you, and then it took me like a year to get here, but I'm so glad I did.
Oh my God. Worth the wait. And I love you. I love you, Kat.
I adore you. And give Brandon a big hug for me.
I will. I definitely will. Thank you so much.
You got it. And everybody, if you could leave me a review wherever you listen, that would be great. I hope you enjoyed the show. I will see you on the road in 2020. Thank you to Mike at Uno Rising Media for doing such a great job with my podcast, especially with all the mistakes I send him. Have a great day, everybody.